Gary Godden talking there. Well, to talk more about this subject, we're joined by our social affairs correspondent, Jeremy Ball. We heard there lots of talk about this multi-agency approach, but isn't the reality that a lot of young people just simply don't want to engage with the police?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they're much more likely to engage with frontline youth workers who might have been in their shoes in the past. And this does create a huge tension, really, Sarah, because if those groups are seen as too close to the police, well, then they can lose credibility with the very young people that they most need to engage. So they do need to keep a bit of a distance sometimes. That question from Emily about funding too is an important one. That's a big gripe, particularly the fact that it's often very short term. And if you want to know why, just have a listen to this from Trevor Rose.
We've done projects where we've gone into schools, took the kids who were receiving the less amount of support, getting the least amount of grades, and we worked with them, took them out of school, built with them, developed with them. A year. It's not enough time to change their lifestyle and for them to trust in the world and believe that they've got a great opportunity out there.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, knife crime obviously becomes very topical when things happen, but police have so many more priorities, we know, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, everything from domestic violence to drugs to road safety, then from, extremism and preventing terrorism right through to antisocial behaviour. The internet is really changing things too, as you know. And I've been sitting down to talk about this with Leicestershire's Chief Constable, Rob Nixon, ahead of his retirement next week. Now, he told me first why he wants a ban on anonymous social media accounts. He's also been telling me how policing's changed and why he thought a phone call from the King was a practical joke. And he's been showing me some mementos as well.
This is the official sword.
A piece of Leicestershire policing history that holds a special memory for Rob Nixon.
When I was promoted to chief at the time then, Matt Baggett picked it up and he almost like knighted me.
It's 32 years since Mr Nixon became a local constable in Market Harborough. As he's risen through the ranks, policing has changed dramatically.
You would get asked, officer, have you got time for a cup of tea? Where now you're more likely to be faced with somebody getting a mobile phone out and trying to record you or trip you up, and they're putting up with a disproportionate level of abuse and carrying workloads that are unacceptable, because they are the ones that are going to run through and help you when other people run away and abandon you.
Rob Nixon led several of Leicester's toughest policing challenges, the 2011 riots, and violent clashes the year before and year after as the English Defence League faced off against counter-demonstrators. And he's worried that now social media is making society even more divided.
It's become hugely challenging. If you were to ask me what I would ask of social media companies, I don't think anybody should be allowed to have a social media account that is anonymous. They do have a responsibility to ensure that people are using these platforms in a way which enables freedom of speech, but what it doesn't do is enable mass mobilisation of people with hatred that leads to disorder. Because what we've got to try and avoid, Jeremy, is social media being weaponised.
And here on Belgrave Road, Rob Nixon was on the front line as temporary Chief Constable as violence broke out again in 2022. Clashes this time between hundreds of mainly Hindu and Muslim young men.
I get a call saying we've got the royal household on the phone. The King would like a briefing, and I genuinely thought it was a wind-up. And I said, well, look, can you take the number? And I'll call them back.
You thought the call from the King was a wind-up?
I did. I thought it was a wind-up, but actually, sure enough, I called back and it was the royal household. And as a result of that conversation, I ended up taking people from the community and we flew up and we met face-to-face with King Charles.
From royalty to politicians and communities, he hopes his legacy's building trust. And he says the police are facing radical reform as public finances come under pressure.
If 4 or 5 people are involved in a fight in the street, historically that would have gone down as, say, an affray. One crime, been investigated. Now you end up with the affray, multiple different crime reports linked to everybody that's linked to it. The budgets are likely to shrink. So if you're going to have a smaller workforce and the workload's going to become increased and more complex, you've got to use technology to try and simplify some of that, actively stripping out some of the layers of bureaucracy that have evolved over time.
That's a challenge Rob Nixon will be leaving to his successor as he prepares to clear his desk for a final time. Jeremy Ball, BBC's Midlands Today, Enderby.